So my post on LinkedIn today is all about fundraising plans. That's a real important part of the work I do for clients is creating this kind of customized fundraising, this customized strategic plan for an organization. Now, the challenges of creating a plan are there's a lot of them, right? Sometimes plans are too generic that they kind of could apply to any organization. Sometimes plans are too inflexible, right? It demands you do a certain thing at a certain time in a certain way. You ask this donor for this amount at this date. And that kind of rigidity is really hard to maintain um, in a real world fundraising environment, right? Where things change all the time and there's sometimes new opportunities, sometimes new challenges. You know, we have to have a little bit of give, a little bit of flexibility in the plan. And sometimes the plan is just a list of the budget. This is what you need to raise. Go get it. And it can be hard to know where to start or what to include in your fundraising plan. And it can even be harder to kind of justify why do you need a fundraising plan? Because some nonprofits are going to say, well, we don't really need a plan. We're going to do what we did last year. Last year was perfect. We hit our numbers. We're just going to ask for 10% more from everybody, and boom, there's your plan. And the problem with an approach like that is it assumes your donors are kind of at the same place they were last year. It assumes that kind of an across the board increase is going to be appreciated and accepted and understood. And sometimes it pushes organizational budgets and organizational needs into the front of the line and suggests that those things are the most important to donors. And what I have found is that when a plan really speaks to vision more than need, you're really onto something there. Because the plan, honestly, the plan is your pathway to create a fundraising system, to create a donor relationship system, to create something that really matches the importance of and the scope of your mission and what your organization is doing. If you're doing great things in the world, you need to have a plan that helps you do great things. Some of that might be you want a plan that's really going to prioritize individual giving. So you're going to build goals around the number of meetings you're going to get per month. You're going to make sure you're crafting individual cultivation plans for your top 10 prospects and individual stewardship plans for your top 10 donors. You're going to put all these bits and pieces in because you know you want more individual donors, because you want to raise money because, and this is where a lot of organizations fall down, you want to raise money because of what you're going to do with the money, right? The plan, the goal, what donors are probably going to respond to is not the fact that you need to raise $1 million or you need to raise $500,000 or you need to raise $1,000. That's not the thing that's exciting. The thing that's exciting is what you're going to do. Why is it important to raise the money? Why is it important to engage the community? Why is it important to invite people in? And so your plan might include language that shows up on a website, language that shows up in grants. Your plan might include specific tasks and specific expectations for your board members when it comes to fundraising. We want every board member to invite a certain number of people to a certain number of events, however it is. But all of these things really have to be done in service of the vision of your organization. What are you going to do? What happens next? Because business as usual is not an inspiring fundraising message, right? Keep giving so we can keep doing. Need and peril, give to us today or else we'll close our doors. That's not an inspiring fundraising message. What I think donors respond to, and what I think we as people respond to, is the idea that we're a part of something that's not just existing in stasis, that we're part of something that has ambition and vision and growth, and we're going to do something big. So if you are thinking about creating a fundraising plan, before you put pen to paper, before you start pulling out a prospect list or a budget or a calendar, and all those things need to go into your plan, before you do that thing, really make sure you're clear about the why. Really make sure you're clear about why you're raising money for this mission in this way, in this time, in these amounts. And if you can't get to that answer, if that answer seems unclear, okay, then we need to have a conversation with the executive director or the CEO or maybe the board. Like you need to learn that. That needs to be, again, the heart of your fundraising plan. Because our job isn't just to get money from donors. Our job is to connect with these donors and make them kind of show them they're part of this story, along with the people we serve, along with the partner organizations, our employees, our volunteers. We're all part of the same story, and we're all helping that story in different ways. The ways your donors are helping are very specific because we're asking them for money, for gifts of assets, for monthly giving. We want them to be legacy donors. There's all sorts of things we want our donors to do with us. But we want them to do this because we're trying to do something good, something big, something better than what currently exists. And we believe our donors share that value with us. So when you're thinking about planning, start with that vision. Start with there and then back into it from there. If you want more specifics, we could talk later about, I always start with donor retention. I always start with, get my calendar events, make sure I understand when things are happening and when donors are going to get told about it, and make sure you're doing something, you're building in time for that recognition, for that celebration, for showing your donors how much they mean to you, whether that's a special portion or a special segment of an existing event, or whether it's a standalone event. All of these things can get wrapped up in your plan. And finally, the most important aspect of a plan, and I've said this before, but the most important aspect of a plan is that it has some flexibility. It has some checks built in. It has some moments, or even just an understanding that every quarter we're going to look at the plan and make sure it still reflects the environment we're raising funds in. Because otherwise, your plan will probably fail you the first time an unexpected thing hits your organization. And for many of us in the fundraising game, we've seen that happen again and again and again. I say it often. I had a really good fundraising plan that was, as of February 2020, was really serving me well. And then in March, I had to throw it away because we had COVID and we had to change literally everything about our fundraising approaches. So I'm not saying to necessarily assume that disaster is coming, but your plan should have a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of give and take in mind as we go. Okay, if you'd like to learn more or talk more about fundraising plans, reply to this video and send me a message or visit me at resolutephilanthropy.com. I would love to chat with you about your fundraising plan or talk about ways that I can help you create a brand new one, a fundraising plan that's going to meet your mission. Okay, keep up the great work. We'll see you soon.